Alrighty, happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're all having a good week so far. We're on the last day before the weekend, so it's always good news, right? But sorry for starting a little bit late. I was having some technical issues with my webcam, but it's all fixed now, so hopefully you guys can see me. Otherwise, make this live training a little bit more challenging, right? Um, so as I said, it's Friday, so hopefully everybody is doing well and is ready to jump into the training. Obviously, today we're going to be talking about protein, which is one of the big macronutrients. Um, and well, let's get into it, and hopefully you guys will find this helpful. If you have questions, comments, please put them up. I'd love to hear from you. So protein, as I said, is one of the macronutrients or macros that we must take in each day. And it's considered the most important macro, and this is for a very good reason. It's like considered the building block of life because it's found in every cell of our body. So that's what I mean. That's incredibly important. It's made up of amino acids, which are attached to each other in long chains. And there's 20 different kinds of amino acids. 9 are considered essential, and what that means is you must get them through your diet. The others your body can actually make. So the 9 essential amino acids you have to take in each day in order for your body to have them. Um, and when your body is consuming protein, 90% of it is broken down into amino acids. So your body actually uses these quite a bit. About the other 10% is burned off in the digestive process. And protein serves a huge, huge, huge role in your body. It has many different functions. It can transport molecules throughout your body, which is important for getting, chemicals and other things throughout your body to where it needs to be to have certain cues happen. It helps repair cells and make new ones, which is really, really important. Obviously, your body's constantly making cells and replenishing cells. And this is particularly true if you're injured, if you're, building muscle by doing strength training, whatever it is, your body's constantly making cells, even if you're doing nothing. And it helps protect your body from viruses and bacteria because proteins are an essential element of your white blood cells, which are part of your immune system. And obviously for kids, protein helps promote proper growth and development. So this is where protein is so critical. And it comes from many different sources. A lot of people, when they hear the word protein, they associate it immediately with meat, oftentimes red meat. And while you can get it from red meat, there's many other places to get it as well. Obviously, when we're focusing on red meat, you want to focus on lean red meat, not fatty red meat. Other sources would be chicken breast, fish or seafood, and obviously dairy products because they have some of the protein that comes through when dairy products are typically made from milk, cream, something along those lines. So the products is going to have protein in it from the cow, and then so the other non meat sources essentially are, well, eggs technically qualify under sort of meat, but you have legumes, soy, tofu, nuts, and seeds. So all of these different things can provide great sources of protein. You just need to be aware of how much protein from each one. And so when we're talking about high versus low protein, this means the amount of protein in a particular food product. So any food that provides 5% or less of your daily value, or DV, is considered to be low in protein, versus any food that has 20% or more of your daily value is considered to be high in protein. So this can help you as you're trying to figure out, are you getting enough protein in your diet? And then we get to the difference between complete versus incomplete proteins. And complete proteins are those that are going to contain all of those 9 essential amino acids in whatever the item is that you're consuming. And these 9 essential amino acids are histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, thiorein, tryptophan, and valine. So you need to be able to get these 9 essential amino acids every day. And in complete proteins, that's very easy because all of them are in there. So some examples that have complete proteins are animal products, soy, and quinoa. So that's awesome if you like quinoa, which I do, but it's not for everybody. I mean, to me, it's essentially sort of like rice. It's just a little healthier for you. Incomplete proteins, on the other hand, they don't have all of the 9 essential amino acids. They might have some, but they're not going to have all. So examples of that would be beans, nuts, and grains. So the best thing to do here, if you're eating these and you're trying to get to those 9 essential amino acids, you want to combine incomplete proteins together, and therefore you get the complete proteins. So some great examples of this is having rice and beans. Obviously whole grain rice here, not the refined white rice that most of us are used to consuming. But by combining the whole grain rice with the beans, you're getting those essential amino acids. Another great example, and this is personally my favorite, is peanut butter on like whole wheat bread. I absolutely love peanut butter. I could sit and eat it out of the jar with a spoon, so, which is not healthy. But because then you see overconsumption on that part. But yes, peanut butter on whole wheat bread is awesome because you're getting all of that essential amino acids your body needs in, a serving, and you have other nutrients you're also taking in. And that way, you're also have some variety. I mean, it gets boring eating the same stuff every day. So you want to have that variety. And that's what is so key with the protein is that you need to be able to have variety, I mean, with any part of your diet, but also different nutrients that you get by having the variety is important because you, besides the essential amino acids, all these other foods have other nutrients in them. And that's what you want to be able to do. Your body needs those, so that way it has everything it needs in order to be healthy. So variety is key here, especially when it comes to diet. It's just, planning accordingly. And so when it comes to protein in your metabolism, this is where a lot of people love protein. And this is due to the result of several studies over the past about 20 years or so that have shown that people who consume protein, it can actually help them lose weight or maintain weight loss. And there's a reason for this. It's because consuming more protein has a positive impact on your resting metabolic rate. And the question becomes why? Well, that's because high protein foods typically increase your sense of fullness. So when you're eating sufficient amounts of protein in your diet over the course of the day, you typically end up consuming in less calories because you're feeling fuller longer. So this is good because that means it's going to help you lose weight, right? And so if you're just taking in less food, that's a great way to lose weight. And so also the other component of this, especially if you're doing like strength training or something like that, even if you are trying to lose weight, you still need to have a sufficient amount of protein because obviously your body needs it to function. But also if you're doing strength training, protein is important because you want to build that lean muscle mass. Lean muscle mass is what's going to help with your metabolic rate. So by having enough protein, you're ensuring that you're helping build that muscle because obviously protein helps with cell repair. And that's when you're doing strength training, you're actually causing cell damage to the muscles, which is how they grow. So that's normal, but you need them to be able to be repaired. And that's where protein comes in. So probably by now you're wondering, well, how much protein should you be taking in if you're just, consuming protein regularly? Well, on average, somewhere between 10 to 35% of your calories in a day should come from protein. And that does seem like a wide range, but it really depends on your goals here. So that sort of breaks down to 0.4 to 0.5 grams per kilogram of body weight per day when it comes to consuming protein. If you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to build muscle, though, you need to increase it. And that's where you get up to that 35% range. So if you're doing either one of those, you're going to increase to 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. So you see how it bumps up just a little bit, and that's because it helps to get you that protein that your body needs, because when you're losing weight, the whole point is to lose fat. Yes, inevitably you're going to lose some muscle with it, but you're trying to delay that muscle loss. That's where you're going to want to make sure you're consuming protein to help with that. Obviously, as we mentioned, protein keeps you fuller longer. So when you're losing weight, that's key because you want to be fuller longer. So you're not consuming food. You want to help your body understand and alter those hunger cues. And that's where protein is so helpful. When obviously, as I mentioned before, with strength training, the importance of protein there. So But to be very specific as far as, when you're doing certain things in relation to these changes regarding weight loss and muscle strength, there's some research that shows that you can even go up to 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of weight per day, which is about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. That's a huge amount of protein. And remember here, the key thing is getting it through variety. You can't just sit and consume meat all day. You have to have that variety because there's other nutrients your body needs. And obviously, if you're eating red meat, there's some unhealthy factors if you're, because it has a higher percentage of fat content versus beans and legumes and other things don't. It's just that you have to be aware of what your meals are comprised of. But the one important thing to note here is that anything really above the 30 grams per meal is not beneficial. There's no added benefit to you if you're consuming more than that. So this is why you want to take in only up to that amount and don't intake any more. And because it is possible to overdo the amount of protein that you're consuming. And this isn't good because obviously it does impact your body in several different ways. Your body doesn't really know what to do with extra protein. And it can, if you have extra protein, it can actually harm your bones, kidneys, and liver. And the reason for this is you can end up with kidney stones. You can actually end up with bone loss. And then you end up with too much calcium in your bloodstream, which obviously in itself can present problems. And then obviously liver complications. This is why getting enough protein for what you need it for is key, but then also not consuming too much is key. So that's where, just be mindful of what protein you're taking in, how much is it, all of that. And as we talked about, if you're consuming a lot of meat, this is where you get concerned about the concept of having too much fat in your diet. On the other end of the spectrum, you have protein deficiencies. And here in the United States, that's not really that big of an issue. For most people, it mainly is for people in poor countries who don't have sufficient enough access to foods and proteins that allow them to take in the right amount. It can cause severe issues, though, like delayed growth in children. It will cause loss of muscle mass. It can result in thinning hair. And edema, which is the swelling of your body tissues, usually to your lower legs. The only real concern here in the United States is that people who follow certain types of diets that might lead them to not getting enough protein, those individuals do need to be aware of where they're getting protein from and try to incorporate more of it. This is particularly true for people who are vegetarians or vegans, because obviously they're not eating meat. So that means all of their protein sources are coming from plant-based. So, and the typically plant-based proteins, when you're talking about gram per volume of food, they just have less protein than meat sources. So that just means you need to be more mindful as far as when you're consuming it in, how much you're actually getting. It's not to say you can't get in enough, it's just you have to be more aware of it. So when you are looking at ways to incorporate protein into your diet, a lot of people often talk about protein shakes. And while these are great, because they're obviously high in protein, the question really becomes, do you need it? And this is where most people, and even including athletes, as long as they're eating a balanced diet, they can get enough protein from their diet. They don't necessarily need to have protein shakes or supplements. Typically, most of the supplements or shakes will have about 10 to 30 grams per scoop. So that's obviously, it's the 30 grams is a ton of protein in, and the way that the proteins are derived, it depends on where they come from because there's many different types. So if it comes from plants, it could be like pea protein or soy protein. If it comes from milk, that is casein or whey protein, and then it can also come from eggs. So as you can see, depending on if you're vegetarian, vegan, you have a wide selection of protein options there. The key thing with these is you have to be careful because a lot of products actually contain added sugars, flavors, vitamins, and minerals that get added to them, particularly if they're pre-made shakes versus the protein powder. So just be mindful of reading the packaging. You don't want to have all this extra stuff added in. Obviously, the whole point is being healthy. Added sugar, flavorings, and stuff is not that great. And obviously, if you have too much vitamins and minerals of some kinds, then your body's not getting rid of them, and you can have issues with that as well. So it's just being aware of what you're taking in. And when it comes to people who can benefit from using these, obviously it's not to say that everyday people can't use protein powders, shakes, and all that. Um, but the majority of people who can actually need to have these is anyone who has some sort of reduced appetite. Older individuals often don't take in enough protein. So for them, having something like this where they have a shake or something that has extra protein is helpful. People who are obviously receiving cancer treatments, or have a serious medical condition like severe burns where their body's trying to heal, or if they have wounds, significant amount of wounds that need healing, this is where that extra protein can actually be incredibly beneficial. And obviously people who are vegetarian or vegan definitely need to look at supplementing protein with a protein shake or powder, because if they're not getting enough in through their diet. That's why all of this is so important. You need to make sure you know what you're taking in, and then if you need to, supplement. But protein is so important for your overall health and well-being. Obviously, it's just in general you need it, but if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to build muscle, protein's key. And that's where, typically as long as you're staying within the normal limits, you're not going to overdo it. You're not going to have issues as far as having too much protein, but you will actually give your body the fuel it needs in order to help it be better. And that's the whole point. So hopefully, I know this was a lot of information in a short period of time, but protein to me, it's key. It's not to say that the other two macronutrients, carbs and fats, aren't important. They are. Obviously, fats are hugely important for your neurological health, but protein is just so important for overall body function. And since we can't get some of the essential things that it provides any other way except through diet, that's where making sure you get enough is crucial. So thank you guys for joining me today. Hopefully it was helpful. If you have questions, comments, please put them below. Message me, email me. I'd love to hear from you. I've got some exciting stuff coming down the pike here in the next couple weeks, and I'll be sharing more because obviously you guys, as the Demystifying Your Health Insider group, you get the first dibs on all the cool stuff that I'm going to be releasing here, and I will be adding information as posts into the group. So keep an eye out for those. I'm super excited about these. These are some things I've been working on for the past couple of months, and I am feeling you'll be excited too. So keep an eye out for them. And I will see you guys next week. So enjoy your weekend and stay healthy.